The second scenario we offer is the offset scenario. Here we choose the parameters that we would like Practicad to use if in fact we run into an offset situation. To demonstrate this, we have on the left a rectangular neck grill and a piece of rectangular duct highlighted, and we're going to try to run an auto flex route between the two. Take note that the center of the grill's neck is lined up directly with the joints between these two fittings. Since Practicad does not allow us to place taps directly on the joints of fittings and the tap must fit, Practicad is going to take whatever tap we chose for the duct side parameters and it's going to put it as close to this connection as it can possibly fit. Even if it does that, in this scenario though, you would recognize that the out of that tap or the center line of the out connection of that tap would not be perfectly aligned with the center line of this grill, which means we'd run into an offset situation. If we're going to run into an offset situation, Practicad will let us pick what fitting we should use in that particular case. So what we're going to do here is we're first going to go over to our drop-down menu and say if we run into an offset situation, we'd like to use a finished length transition. Now we're going to come over here and go down these parameters one at a time. First, we have the ability to use a catalog item or an entity we created from a finished length transition. Here we're just going to use the original. Next, we have minimal length. Minimal length is currently set to 0, which means this particular offset can be anywhere from 0 all the way to any number to reach the actual distance we need. If in fact we don't want the fitting to be a specific size smaller than any value, we can put that value in here. So if we set minimal length 12, this finished length transition would never be smaller than 12. Most of the time when we put a value in here, Practicad keeps that value when it goes to route. Now we're going to choose minimal straight in. Imagine we needed to make sure that we have to have straights on this transition to roll it through TDC. So what we're going to do is say our minimal straights must be 2 inches and 2 inches. Now we've got maximal offset to width ratio and maximal offset to depth ratio. Now there are separate tutorials that teach you exactly how these parameters work, and I highly recommend taking a look at it. Basically, if these parameters are set to 0, Practicad will be unable to offset any fittings. In other words, if you set these values to 0, you will never get a choice selected for offset. Practicad will always jump to try to route a turn instead. Quite often we keep these at 0 in this particular section. However, if offsets are going to be allowed, we need to give it the proper offset to width ratio. Here we're going to set it to 8 and 8. That's a very high value, and if you watch the tutorials on routing, it would explain that that means we should always be able to get a transition offset between two distances. Now what we're going to do is press OK. Notice when we do that, the Practicad has chosen the duct side tap, which is an angled boot tap. It has now taken the finished length transition fitting. It has given us the straights we asked for, minimal of 2 inches and 2 inches. It has maximized the full length joint, and it's connected a hard route.